Hello, Irish fans, and welcome to another edition of Dome and Domer. My name is Mike Brammer. Joining me tonight, Ed Jordanik. Also joining us from NDNation.com, Mike Coffey. All right, so obviously, guys, there's excitement in the air. You can make the argument there's more excitement than has been in years past for some reason. Maybe this is the year it's a little different. I wouldn't go so far as to say that
We have a
it might
coach who's
be the
not an
year.
idiot. That might be
Yeah,
part of
hang
it.
on, wait a minute. Let me get to it.
No, you had
This
it.
is
You
like
went too far.
impromptu.
There you go.
So if you can see that, that's my Notre Dame banner of Notre Dame championships, and unfortunately, the last one's 1988. Not that I'm suggesting that'll happen this year, but there's a slight possibility Coffee could, for once, be wrong this season, and we go 12-0 instead of 11-1. But I will say this, Ed, I'll let you crank at this first. I would say here's a big, huge difference, and I know Sam Hartman is where we could start, but I'll be honest with you. When because I rewatched the game, I didn't rewatch the whole game. I rewatched the one of the beauties of YouTube is the condensed game where they take out all the commercial. You can literally breeze through a game in 40 minutes. It's
Wow.
freaking awesome, man. So anyway, instead of having to listen to Lindsey Nelson for But the reality of the matter is Notre Dame passes the eye test. And this is the first time in a long time that I've seen that, where there are guys making plays on both sides of the ball. Whether you want to talk about, and I actually teed up some videos, so we'll take a peek at uh, Morrison's interception on defense, but then also some plays on offense, whether you want to pick Estime's 80-yard run, whether you want to pick out States. I mean, holy cow, man, there were some big time plays on both sides of the ball. And that's not something we're used to seeing that often in years past.
Yeah, I think, Notre Dame has always had, three or four terrific, athletes. And now it seems like they have 7 or 8. For whatever reason, I think that, we're bringing in some guys that sort of have a little level of sort of speed and athleticism that I don't remember the last time I saw safeties come over the top without touching a guy and making
an interception. When is the last time you saw that?
Yeah.
Or what about a defensive back who was playing defense and his head wasn't towards the quarterback the entire time? The back of his head. I mean, on that interception, he didn't even look at the defender. The entire time he was looking at the quarterback.
And he and who was it? He and Henderson messed up another sure interception in
the
first half, right? Because
well, I mean, it was in a basket and he pulled away at the last second, thinking, I don't know what he was thinking, but so they gave one away there for sure.
Yeah, and then Gray missed one towards the end of the game, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, it was I saw the replay of it. I mean, it was definitely a catchable ball. But I mean, that's the kind of thing, jumping routes and making plays. And I think you make a good point. I mean, there's, look at the depth at running back, look at the depth at receiver. Obviously those guys aren't developed completely yet, and they're not, but it's not like a lack of numbers, at receiver for sure. There's guys that are, Merriweather striding across the middle of the field after that catch really looked, looked a little like Randy Moss. I mean,
that was great. Other than he got caught. I mean, I'm sure Estime was having fun in the locker room teasing both Tobias and Tyree for getting caught from behind where he didn't. But anyways, Coffee. So let me, I wanted to play this really quick, just only because, this was a huge play in the game. Obviously, 3rd and 10.
I agree. Yeah.
This was huge.
Because
it was 3rd and 10. We hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
And it's all of a sudden you can tell that this call was played. Now, whether or not he audibled into it, but this is something they clearly saw on film. 3 down linemen. In this situation, these guys are going to break out on the routes and he perfectly draws them away. I mean, look at that.
Yeah,
you can tell he was running the whole entire time.
Yeah, I don't think he necessarily audibled into that. I mean, you can see.
Not have. I mean, he may not.
You can see at the beginning of that as you said, the whole middle is wide open. So you can see the receivers go out there, they're taking their men, even pulling that over even further apart, giving him plenty of room to get in there and make the play. And as you said, they really, really needed that play because a third consecutive 3-and-out, you're putting a lot of pressure on the defense to have to be perfect. And you don't want them to have to be perfect. You want them to be good. And I think at the beginning of the game, they were good. And what impressed me was as the game progressed, they got better and better and better. Because that's another thing. When's the last time we saw that? A Notre Dame team that is playing better at the end of the game than they were playing at the beginning. That's the part that amazes me.
And, this is that interception that you were talking about, Ed. But, look, not only that, but I want you to watch something. Watch number 11. Look at him also try and jump the route. See that?
Right.
He's trying to come up and jump the route. So now, did they see this on film? Or are our guys giving the green light? Hey, man, if you think you can jump the route, jump it. But the point is this is playmakers on the field. These are guys making plays at critical points, and it was 24/7 at this point.
Yeah.
It was 24/7 at this point in the game. The game's not over.
No, it was 24-17. Deep into the third quarter, right, or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was way deep in the third quarter. And again, just going back to plays being made on both sides of the ball. Coming out of that long delay. This first call that we play, great blocking. Look at this block on the outside. If he doesn't sustain that, no way does he score. But Estime runs away from the defense. That's clearly what's going on there. And those are big time plays. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, okay, we might have gotten lucky, but maybe we didn't. Maybe we went back into the locker room and had discussions and said, hey, guys, we think this play's going to work coming out. Here's why. If they're in this alignment, let's run this. I don't know. These are the kinds of things that, at least up to the third game of the season, we're excited about because we haven't necessarily seen this consistently 3 games in a row. And, Central Michigan, so we'll find out about that. But obviously, Ohio State's the telltale sign 2 weeks from now.
And the other part I like is just the ability to adjust. I know there was talk this week after the game that the tight end passes coming out of the back for that just worked so well because that's something they saw over the course of the game. In those formations, running game just wasn't working because NC State was just pushing and sending everybody in there, creating voids behind them that a tight end leaking out could exploit. And he was able to do it twice with 2 different tight ends for touchdowns both times. And frankly, that's the kind of adjustment that I didn't really see over the last 12 years. I don't remember seeing a lot of times when you see plays being run in the first quarter that lead to more successful results in the third quarter because we did this so we could test that. We did this so we could test that. Hey, we found something that'll work. Boom, it works. We score. And the ability for them to really adjust on the fly to something that works is really fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with you guys, but remember, it's and those adjustments are good, and I think that it's pretty clear that the coaching staff has done a good job over the first 3 games. They've made those
adjustments.
On both sides.
They've made in-game adjustments absolutely clear to everybody watching the football game, no doubt.
But I know we said we weren't going to, or I think maybe Mike said, we're not going to, belabor the point. But the fact of the matter is you can't do those things on offense unless the guy that's taking the snap knows what the hell he's doing.
That's exactly right.
And he is, the fact of the matter is,
no doubt.
He's older than 5 or 6 starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
Did you guys see the thing they put up? It's like how many starters in the NFL played in college during Sam Hartman's career? It was like 17 or something like that.
Crazy.
Just nuts.
Crazy.
But this play right here is kind of emblematic of what you just said, Ed. That is a tight window right there. And to have the ability, to have the vision, to even know that window might even open up, that's something we have not had in a long time at Notre Dame. And to his credit, he's proven it 3 games in a row. And I think NC State, like you said, is no slouch over. This isn't like, a bad ACC team. This is a fairly decent team.
Yeah, they don't have skilled players on offense, but he's always been a good defensive coach. And
Yeah.
they have talent, and
I mean, that's a tight window right
they
there.
have good team speed. Yeah, no, I mean, and what I was talking about was when you were talking about those plays to stays, to the tight end. I mean, you're right. They were good adjustments. They saw them there, but then the quarterback has to execute those, right? Because you have to sell it, and then you also have to put a perfect touch on the ball. His long throw to Stays for the last touchdown was a really nice throw. Stays almost, got himself tangled up in his own feet. But the other shorter ones, I mean, you saw how pissed he was because remember they ran that play and Hartman threw it too low.
Yeah.
The first time they ran it.
Yep.
Wasn't that Saturday, this past game? I think it was, or maybe it was last week. I can't remember. But the first time they ran that play with Stays kind of sliding across the field like that, or coming out of the backfield, Hartman made a poor throw. But I mean, when he makes a mistake, it's the last time he's going to make that mistake.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the difference.
I think this is that crossing route that you were talking about, the underneath. Oh, here's the point I wanted to make about this one. When is the last time a Notre Dame coach called timeout with the opposing team inside our 10-yard line,
right?
And you're going into the end of the half, and there's like literally 1 minute left on the clock, and he calls a timeout.
Right.
So your very first play to Hartman snapping the football is with a minute left. And are you seriously going to drive the length of the field with 1 minute?
Well, that's the beauty. They've done it 3 times now. And every game, all 3 games, the 2-minute offense going into the half has resulted in a touchdown. So, I mean, it's one thing when it's against Tennessee State and Navy, but as you mentioned, Brown, this is a solid defense. And granted, this is one huge play that made a lot of the difference. But to Ed's point, the play has to be made. You have to have a quarterback who can see that it's there,
who sees the field, who keeps the play alive, who has the vision to be able to look off receivers as he's and clearly he's done it. Hartman has done this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you guys would agree. I mean, we've been on the receiving end of this. And the hardest kind of quarterback to defend is the quarterback that can make a play with his legs, but only does it as a last resort. In other words, he sees the field. He's a good thrower. He's an accurate passer. But if he gets, if he like that quarterback draw that we saw, just a couple minutes ago that you put on the screen, Mike. I mean, when you can make that play, but it's not your it's not your calling card.
It's not your go-to, right?
Yeah, that is really hard to defend because you can you're either Tom Brady or where you can sit back there and make every single throw and every single play. There's not too many like that. He's or you're somebody like I don't know, take another example, like you're either a Brady or a Manning who just don't, who don't move, but they're so good standing back there and they know the game so well, or you've got somebody like, I mean, I don't know, who's another, like a Drew Brees or somebody who, could make a play with his legs if necessary, but is also an excellent passer and leader of defenses.
You can't sell out to stop that run on those plays too soon, because if you give a quarterback like that, you give him an inch and he's going to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and I think this play is a perfect example of just how tight of a window he can throw into.
This was the real tight
confidence.
This was the real tight.
I thought this touchdown throw was unbelievable. I mean, he knows exactly who he's keying on. But I mean, when you see it especially from this back angle, look how tight that window is. He knows exactly where it is. And man, I mean, he just put it right on the button. And that's intense stuff. I mean, that's not easy to do. But look, I think these are the things that have everybody excited for the first time in a long time because of, number one, the 24-17 situation where a lot of times we found ourselves in the second half like really struggling to get out of that kind of a situation when games are tight and there's a limited number of possessions left, and oh my God, a single turnover and there's no way we're going to, drive the length of the field. it just seems like every single time we've got the football in our hands, we have the potential to take it the length of the field as long as we're not making mistakes or anything. And I think that's what Hartman brings to you. But also the playmakers, as you said, there's not just 2 or 3 guys on the entire team that are playmakers. We've now got like both sides of the football, probably 7 guys that are legitimate playmakers.
Yeah, and they've got to, they've got to grow up, they've got to develop, they've got to learn. But in terms of just raw ability, we've got it, and I think that's that's a credit to credit to recruiting, but it's also like, think about somebody like Xavier Watts, right? He came to
it's
Notre
come
Dame
a long
adamant
way.
he came to Notre Dame adamant that he was going to be a receiver or a slot guy, and they've turned him into a really. I mean, I think that I don't know Chris O'Leary, but I think he's done a really good job with these guys. I mean, they were a very maligned group, or that they were really considered a weak link of this defense, and they've exceeded expectations. He's worked Harper and Carter into the mix a little bit, but I'm most impressed with Henderson and Watts. I mean, they've really kind of taken a next step, which was critical for this to be kind of a top 5 type, not a top 5 defense statistically, but I mean a defense that could put us into the top 5. Because to me, that's going to be the key advantage that we have over Ohio State, not to look too far ahead. But they still have a quarterback who's only going to have 3 games under his belt.
Right.
Right. And Golden, that's going to be the challenge. If we beat Ohio State, it's because Golden sort of makes
it's going to be Coffee. It's going to be because of the defense. If we beat Ohio State, the defense will hold them to a certain number of scores and limit them on certain possessions, because we will put points on the board. We're not going to win this game 17-14 or 14-10. It's going to be like a 35-27 or 31-27, or maybe if we're lucky 42-31. But the idea is the defense is going to show up and make some plays and turn away some possessions that creates the disparity between us putting points on the board, because we will put points on the board.
Ohio State has skill players who can score points, but the thing is, you got to get the ball to those skill players, and it remains to be seen. I'm sure Ohio State has a talented quarterback; they always do. But as you said, only 3 games under their belt, first road game, hopefully a very hostile environment, and we'll have to see how they.
Well, I think Marvin Harrison had 2 receptions last game against Youngstown State. He had 2 receptions. So that tells.
That was, I think, their first game. I think in week 2, he had like 160 yards and a couple touchdowns.
Well, but I think last week against Youngstown State, he only had like 2 receptions in the 35-7 win.
By the same token, though, it's Youngstown State. I mean, you may not necessarily need.
Yeah, I mean, but I think they were using him as a decoy a lot. But anyways, the point being is that if Morrison can lock him down, okay, I mean, and he's the guy that's capable of it. I'm not saying he's going to shut him down or he doesn't have any receptions. But if Harrison comes out of our game with 5 receptions, I mean, that's what you're shooting for. I mean, you're trying to limit him to having a few number of receptions and not those big impactful plays that, kind of upend the game for us, and in years past have. And I think the thing that's encouraging in terms of going back to the eye test, how many completions did NC State have where our guys weren't right at the hip of the guy that he was throwing to? I mean, a couple of receptions, it was like ridiculous. It was like our guy was right there. One in particular I'm thinking of, Cam Hart down the sidelines. And oh my God, the ball was thrown like perfectly. And it could, the guy dropped it in, couldn't have been a better throw. Had that throw been even a foot shorter or a foot longer, it's incomplete. And that's what you want. You want those, you want to force them to make plays instead of our guys blowing coverages and guys are wide open, like against, I'm thinking of Michigan in the game that was Desmond, or who was the quarterback that was the Flair, the guy that the first night game in Michigan that we ended up losing.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, in any
I
event,
can't remember his name, but
he was a kid from down here too, I think, now that I think about it. But in any event, what I'm saying is that it just seems like there's a lot of things clicking at the moment that are beginning to show signs that things might be different this year. And look, we'll know a ton coming out of Ohio State. We're not going to know anything this weekend other than if we just don't lay an egg. But coming out of Ohio State, we're going to know a whole heck of a lot moving forward against the likes of USC, Pitt, Clemson, and so forth. But at least at the moment, you got to admit that things look better than they have 3 games into the season than in the last 10 years, for sure.
sure, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I think that,
I will say the one concern I do have is the defensive line. It's the only major, huge concern I've got because it seems like we never, ever get pressure unless we're sending guys. At least that's what I saw Saturday.
well, it's really interesting because it just seems like, the chunk plays that we give up is when we blitz.
And we blitz a lot.
Yeah, because we're still running into guys. We're not
Yeah.
getting to the, we either, and then we forget to put our hands up, or we get to, they're just, for whatever reason, we don't blitz that well. And maybe I have unrealistic expectations about how well it's supposed to work. But anyways, it'll be interesting to see sort of how that plays out. And a couple other little things, one of my little pet peeves about Notre Dame football was, like, it seemed like these schools in the South every single year would find these guys that had like big time legs for kickers.
Yeah.
Like guys who put the ball out of the, it just seemed like we could never find somebody to consistently get the ball, out of the end zone. And that, a 50-yard field goal was always going to be a stretch for the guys that we had. Not that they were poor kickers, but we just never had that kind of that leg that was of the caliber of like so many schools that we, that especially in the South, Arkansas would have some freaking kicker who, making 60-yarders.
Yep.
And it's really crazy. Like, I had no idea that this guy had this kind of a leg.
I didn't either. 54 yards in the rain. I was like, what are you doing?
And it was
And
halfway
he
up the
nailed it.
goalpost. It was halfway up the goalpost.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
halfway up the goalpost.
And the other one that hit the upright, I think that would have been good from, 68, 69 yards. It was
it was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So,
and look, that first field goal was huge. Don't kid yourself. Yeah. That's a deflator when you line up and kick one that deep.
Right.
Because a lot of teams would have punted that.
How crazy is it that guy that kicked for us last year is starting for the Saints?
He's the Saints, yeah. He's with the Saints.
I didn't think his range was more than like 45, was it?
Yeah. He was consistent. He was pretty good.
When half your games are going to be indoors, maybe you can
that's true.
give yourself a little
point. But do they have him do it? They must have a punter doing kickoffs, because I don't think he ever got.
No, he didn't. He wasn't deep on his kickoffs. No.
Yeah.
No.
But anyways, good for him.
All right, what's your prediction, Coffee? What do you think Saturday?
Well, the other thing real quick that I like about this team that we haven't seen in past teams is when the backups come in, as I think I said in a previous show.
Yeah, there's
little to no drop off.
Yeah, there's not that big drop off.
The second and third string guys are fired up. I think not only are they capable, they want to show what they can do. I'm saying it's going to be 63-10.
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see some changes on the offensive line if Schroth and I don't know how you say his last name, and Kristovic maybe get a chance, in here. I don't know. It just seems like they haven't quite found the right formula yet. Maybe they're still, maybe they're getting closer. But I'll say, let's see, 40, 56, 49. I'll say 52. I'll say 52-20.
52-20, yeah. Yeah, I think we're gonna. I don't know. I always think that there's a little bit of a looking ahead that happens to you when you're in a situation like this. So I think we might dial it back a little bit point wise, but I'm going to say 48-17 But having said that, I definitely don't think there's going to be any kind of a big, huge letdown where we're going to be kind of scratching our heads thinking, oh boy, geez, we didn't seem like we were ready to come to play. I don't see that happening at all. I think if anything, we're going to see, like you say, younger guys playing a lot sooner than later, and letting these guys have another opportunity to compete, and seeing some fresh talent in there probably very early in the second half. And so in any event, which is all good stuff, because clearly you want to come out of this game with no injuries. I mean, we have got to be 100% going into Ohio State. And I can't imagine Hartman's going to play more than a half, maybe a little bit into the third quarter, but that would be it. You just can't have him getting hurt at all, especially after watching Aaron Rodgers after 4 plays.
Oh, heck yeah. Ugh.
Unbelievable. Anyways,
couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Yeah, looking forward to this weekend, but then obviously the week going up to Ohio State, it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of interest. Unfortunately, we might see a little more red in the stadium than we're used to seeing, but that's the world we live in these days.
Yeah,
so
really
we'll see how that shakes out.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the kind of start that we've had, if there aren't it's probably going to really limit the amount of Notre Dame fans that sort of are tempted by big dollars. They're going to want to be in the house. So
yeah. If they haven't, the problem is the guys that sold the tickets prior to the season starting. Yeah, that's the problem.
Sure, right.
I just think there's too many of those going on. But you're right, Ed. If you were hanging on, thinking about maybe doing it, not doing it, you're not going to do it now.
Yeah,
sure. You're going to want to be there. It's going to be at nighttime.
Right.
You now sense that there's a chance that we could beat them.
Yeah.
And you're not going to want to give that ticket up. You're going to want to be there.
That is the downside of the night game, though, because those kind of people now all of a sudden they say, well, where am I going to get a hotel room from? And like if it was like a 2:30 kickoff, people like within driving distance might say, I'll go to the game. It won't be too bad. I'll get home. And I mean, well,
it'll be interesting. We'll see. That'll be some talk for sure the next day, depending upon how much red shows up. But it is the world that we live in. There's a lot of Notre Dame guys that do a lot of business, a lot of people wanting to, hey, hook me up. And Notre Dame guys are good guys. So they'll be like, let me do this guy a favor. I go to games all the time. Let me do this guy a favor.
When you're playing a team like Ohio State, where they have a standard color that they wear. I mean, every Ohio State person's going to have a red shirt on. Yeah. I think that Notre Dame has put an effort into telling people, hey, wear green to the Ohio State game, just so we can have like a common color, so it doesn't look as bad. Like if you have a bunch of people wearing red and everybody else is wearing like mixed, like gold, green, blue, whatever.
Right, exactly.
It makes it tougher.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, it'll be a lot of fun for that game. I mean, assuming nothing goes wrong this weekend, which I don't think it will, but you just hope everybody comes out of this healthy and we don't have any issues and it's all guns firing for that Ohio State game. That's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. Great atmosphere, great night. Alabama's already lost. You can't get any better than this. So
is LSU.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you guys see that picture of or that little video of Tommy Reese in the press box?
Yeah, holding his head in his hand.
Yeah,
I saw that.
I think the caption was like Tommy Reese looks like a guy that's having to call his parents from jail. And the funny
oh my God, I can't believe this happened.
God.
The best part about that is what makes it even funnier is if you remember, Tommy Reese did actually have to call his parents from the St. Joe County Jail. So
that is true. And I hate laughing about. I mean, he's an alum. At some level, I want him to do well, but still, I'm kind of like, as much as we just absolutely were howling about the way the offense worked and the way the quarterbacks played the last couple of years, this is,
Yeah, but I think that we got to temper that a little bit. I mean, I don't think it's like Tommy Reese could have, effed up Sam Hartman. I mean,
no.
No.
I mean, he's
I'm glad he
dealt with
didn't
what
get
he's dealt with.
I'm glad he didn't get the attempt to.
I think the more difficult thing for them is when do you do the switch? I mean, how much time do you give? When do you get Buckner in there? What's the angle there? Did Tommy think that Buckner should have been the number one and from the get-go? All those things behind the scenes would be kind of interesting. But what isn't going to do a lot of good is to bring Buckner in there, give him 2 or 3 series, and then yank him. I mean, that's just for Buckner, that's not going to work.
No.
I think you got to give this kid a chance, let him try and bounce back, see if he can improve upon some of the reads that he had. And if he doesn't, okay, fine, then go with Buckner and then ultimately go with whoever you think's going to win you football games. But you got to give both of them a chance. I think at some point Buckner's going to get his chance. There's no doubt about it, I think. It's just kind of how do you orchestrate that and what do you do eventually that's in the best interest of them winning football games? That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think the bigger concern that, that Nick Saban has, I mean, he just hasn't had a dominating defense now for a few years.
He hasn't. It's been a little while.
That was his calling card, and that's, to me, that's kind of on him, like that's, I mean, he goes through offensive coordinators, like shirts because they're all successful and they all move on. And he's as much as admitted that it's kind of like the game has changed and now you're trying to outscore the other team. But I think that you still have to have a defense that, doesn't get just, kind of, run on the way that they've gotten run on a few times now. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. A lot of football left. This will be a great year, I think.
Yeah, next weekend. This weekend's kind of boring, but man, some really.
Yeah, this weekend's boring, but boy, it heats up after that. It's going to be great. A lot of great college football.
Yes, indeed.
All right, good deal. We'll leave it there. You've been listening to Dome and Domer, an online conversation about Notre Dame sports from a fan's perspective. For Ed Jordanek and Mike Coffey, I'm Mike Brammer. Thanks for listening.